myself a pizza from the deli, brought it home and cooked it up. Got myself a brisk lemonade. Now, I was never always much of a lemonade drinker. I always liked lemonade. Don't get me wrong. I always liked it. But it was never my go-to. And, you know, Linda and I, when we'd go to Costco, we'd always try and, not always, but a lot of times we'd get one of their big foot-long hot dogs. And she'd always get a lemonade, and I'd always get a Dr. Pepper or a Pepsi or something. So last time we were there, they were out of Pepsi. I can't remember what the deal was, but it was very busy, so we just grabbed a couple lemonades. I really liked it. And then recently we went down to the beach in a neighboring town, and we go down there, you know, every couple of weeks we'll go down that same beach and take some Kentucky Fried Chicken at the store that's very close there. And I always have like a pop, but this time I decided to grab a lemonade. They had that brisk lemonade, and I really enjoyed it, so it was good. So I'm going to try this pizza from the deli. Not bad. They say 10 to 12 minutes in the oven at 400. I had it in there for about a little more than 15 at 375. And then I put it on broil for a couple minutes. So I did a video before about some of my friends from my past, and at the suggestion of one of my viewers, I did one about, you know, different women that I've known from the past too. Now, a lot of these friends, they weren't best friends. They may have been at the time. You know how you find a person to hang out with, and you hang with that person for, you know, maybe a few months, a year. They're kind of your best buddy. And it was like that when I was a kid. I had a great childhood. I had a lot of friends. I think as I grew older, it's not that I became less social. I think I just became more of a, well, you know, I got married, out of family, and so the friends I had were more of the friends that we had as a couple when I was married, that kind of stuff, right? Got those for dessert. This pizza is they call it a deluxe. So, just take it home, cook it up. They have them in the deli, they make them up right there, you know. We should do pizza at work, that was really good. One key thing that I'll share with you about, if you make your own dough, or if you buy like the dough and make your own pizza, whatever, put some olive oil on there first, spread that around, then put your tomato sauce on everything else. The olive oil keeps it nice and moist. So, a lot of these friends I had were from like when I was, you know, around the age of, you know, 12, 13, 14, you know, up to my teen years, that kind of thing. So I'll talk about Barry Stewart. So Barry, was the guy I met. May have been about 10. He was a friend of my other friend, Richard, was my best friend for years. He was my childhood friend, you know, best man at my wedding. I'm going to do a whole entire video devoted to him sometime, because he deserves like a video all to himself, because he was probably one of my best friends ever. And he's passed away now. But Barry Stewart, I met Barry through Richard. And Barry's one of these guys I liked immediately. A couple inches taller than me. And he had I'd been hearing about Barry for a while because, see, Richard and I never went to the same elementary school. It's kind of a weird explanation, but you know, Richard and everybody else that I hung out with went to a school called Holliston. I went to a school called Lauren Hazelden. And it was really kind of silly because we were on the dividing line where I should have gone to Holliston. But because we just moved to the city, just moved into that neighborhood, Lauren Hazelden was a newer school. My parents thought that would be better for some reason. I don't know why, but anyways. So all the kids I hung out with were not at the school I went to. It was kind of weird. So I've been hearing about Barry for a long time before I met him. Like I said, I liked him immediately. And he had this silent dog whistle. And he was blowing it. You couldn't hear anything. He says, now you try it. You couldn't hear nothing. No, apparently it was a frequency that only dogs could hear, apparently. But I just remember he was very, very friendly. And Barry was interesting. He was a really nice, thoughtful person. Surprisingly, he was an only child. His father died before I met him. I'm assuming he was quite young when his father died, but he remembered his dad. And I met him, like I said, maybe I was 11 or 12 when I met him, I can't remember, but his father passed away, so he's just living with his mom. She never overindulged him. But I never met a young man, or a kid actually, as responsible as Barry was. When his dad died, he was put into a situation where he had to kind of grow up a bit. Now his mom had a nice little house. And she had boarders living in the basement all the time who helped pay her mortgage and her bills, whatever. Her name was Dorothy. Nice lady, but she really very protective of Barry, and I can understand why. He was all she had. So anyway, Barry's the type of kid. His mom would say, okay, you gotta go downtown. Like, okay, I'd say, me and Barry going downtown to see a movie or just hang out downtown or something. She would give him some bills to pay first. And so he would get on the bus and he'd go to, one of the big department stores like Sears or something. And he'd go upstairs to the top floor and he'd pay these bills, And he also did banking. He'd go to the bank. He also had a paper route. He was meticulous about his paper route, very responsible. delivered papers for a long time. Richard had a paper out too, and I worked for both of them. I never wanted the responsibility of my own road, but I enjoyed helping others. And it was great. I was a paper boy for years. I'm going to be doing a video I'm kind of working on now. It's about coincidence. And Barry's going to come into that video at some point about, certain coincidences, how people kind of come into your life later, or somebody knows them or whatever. So Barry will kind of reappear that way. But right now we're back to in Saskatoon, 1968, 69, 70, whatever. It's a good pizza, kind of a medium crust type thing. So Barry was a really good guy. He was, like I said, very responsible, very adult, very grown up. I remember his mom bought him an electric guitar, solid body electric guitar with the blue sparkles and an amp, and wow, that was something. And he learned to be a pretty good guitar player. We played in a band together. I made a video about where we played on TV when I played in this band. I think it's called Look Mom on TV. And if I remember, I'll put all these links in here in my description box. If I forget, please remind me, because a lot of times I say I'll put a link in here, then sometimes I forget, right? But we played in a band and we played on TV together. So, I still saw Barry all through high school. We hung out together, got drunk together, got high together, just had a lot of fun together, partied together. And then, of course, I left Saskatoon in 1974, June of 74. But we all went camping together. Barry and I were very good friends. We all had the same mutual friends. He was a good guy. Everybody really liked Barry. Everybody's parents liked Barry because Barry was so just a nice guy. Straight up. Nothing fake about him. He wouldn't skulk around. He was right there in front of you. This is who I am, A very nice guy, very pleasant. Talk like an adult, had good manners and stuff like that. Lovely man. Last time I saw him was in 1980. I left Saskatoon 6 years earlier. And I'm walking around my old neighborhood, and I'm walking down the street across my old high school. This guy driving a Volvo goes by, stops, kind of pulls over almost in the middle of the road. This guy gets out and says, "Mark." I said, "Barry, how are you?" He recognized me right away. He got into real estate, which didn't surprise me. He did very well. I remember in high school he was saying that he wanted to get into something, like he wanted to get into commerce. Everybody else said, "Well, yeah, I want to be a race car driver. I want to do something cool, he wanted to get into commerce. That's kind of what he thought, right? Good for him. He did very well. said when I make that video about, you know, certain coincidences in my life, he'll reappear in that. Now, another friend of mine, Bob, met him in kindergarten. Bob was a good guy. We played in a band too. He's a really good guy. Knew him all through school, high school. He was a big guy. The girls all liked him. Even older girls, like my sister, thought he was really cute, you know, because you know he was well built, and he had, I guess, you know, women thought he had an attractive face and whatever. But all the girls seemed to like him. He was fun. He could be annoying at times. And he was he's a big guy. He could handle himself. Got to know Bob, like I said, in kindergarten. Knew him all through school. I remember he's the one guy when I made a video about getting my driver's license. And he got his, and I was terrified riding with him the one time I rode with him. You know, like just breezing through stop signs they didn't even see, and making wide rights going around a corner. And he was the guy who left the hash pipe in my car. I made a video about that too when I got my driver's license, where twice he left a hash pipe in the backseat of my parents' car. That Bob, that guy. Yeah. Then he came out here to visit me in 2010. I went down and saw him. That was the last time I saw him. I follow him on Facebook all the time. You know, he'll be in Guatemala, and he'll have a video himself in Guatemala, strumming guitar in a local pub or something. You know, he's still jamming. He's got some daughters, I think, that they play banjo. They kind of remind me of the Dixie Chicks or something like that. You know, they all play, and you know, pretty cool stuff. But he was always a lot of fun. His dad died in a car accident. He was quite young. So he's another kid that lost his dad. He always said he was going to change. And his mom remarried. She remarried and took a different name. And she had 2 kids with another man who were his half, you know, step, brother type thing, you know, half brothers, step brothers, whatever. And, but they're all close, they're all very much a family. But he said when he was 18, he's going to legally change his name back to his father's name, his biological father's name, and we all thought, oh, yeah, whatever. And he did. So that's good on him. But we used to hang out together a lot. And there was always a group of us, like, well, these people I mentioned, they all knew each other. It was like a big gang, a big posse type thing, you know. But, yeah, Bob's a good guy, pretty good guy. It's funny when I see people now who are just so much older. You know, see a picture of him on Facebook, oh my gosh, is that so-and-so, you know, hard to believe. But he still plays music. for the life of me, I can't remember what he did for a living. Funny, I guess we just didn't talk about much, but he did very well. He's been with the same woman now for, oh my gosh, since the 70s. He's been with the same woman since the 70s, so good on him. You know, been married like 50 some years, I guess, you know. Or close, well, maybe not quite, but close to it. Yeah, because he got married in the 70s. Wow. Good for him. Another Bob. Bob Thompson. Bob was a funny guy. He went to a different school. He went to a Catholic school. He was a good guy. He was a lot of fun. Him and I would work at my parents' store sometimes together. He was not a musician. He was about the only person I hung out with that didn't play an instrument. But he was a fun guy to be around. He had a real good sense of humor. He was always almost kind of half smiling all the time, you know. You know, like when you saw him, he was just always always pleasant and cheerful and just kind of funny, you know. Kind of tall and thin, a couple inches taller than me. I'm 5'11". I remember him and I, and a few others like Richard and a few others would all go to the movies together, and we used to go to this one movie theater where we could sneak in just so easily. It was like, I mean, are these people do they not see us just walking in, and, you know, do they not care? We used to do that all the time, you know. And there used to be this one movie we'd go see. It was like a real B-grade cowboy movie. It was just, I think it was called Valdez is Coming. Yeah, Valdez is Coming. This whole, you know, B-Western cowboy movie. And this is one part where we'd all go there, people, maybe 6 or 8 of us in the movie theater, all sit in the same row. And that'd be this one part of the movie that we'd see. We'd seen this movie so many times. And this one part of the movie where this cowboy is getting in bed with this woman, so he pulls his pants down, you see his rear end, and we'd all get him go, oh, this is disgusting, I can't watch this filth, I'm getting out of here. We just say it real loud, we just leave the theater, right? It was so stupid. I know other people must have found that annoying, but I still smile when I think about that. I mean, if we had paid to watch it, we never would have left, but clearly we got in for free, so. But Bob Thompson, I haven't seen him since I left Saskatoon, and kind of lost track of him, so I haven't seen him in over 50 years. Tried to find him on Facebook, wasn't able to do it. So I'm not sure whatever happened to him, you know. Maybe he passed away, I don't know. But, you know, kind of lost track, so. Yeah. But, my lamp is being a bit lazy today. Anyway, there's not a lot of action out of it. Anyways, Brad Carley. Brad. When I first met him, he was another guy who went to a Catholic school. The same Catholic school. And the first time I met him, he was riding this Mustang bicycle. And I can't remember how we all became friends, but he became friends with me and Richard, and he played guitar. He had an imitation Gibson SG. You know, the kind that Angus Young had, you know. Angus Young, I think Pete Townshend used one at Woodstock, and, you know, like a red devil horn thing. Brad was a good guy, but he had kind of an air about him. a half a notch better than everybody else. And it was just, it was kind of funny because we kind of just sort of play on that, you know. We'd do things that would just kind of annoy him, you know, and, you know, we'd go to a restaurant, we'd, you know, pretend to fart or something like that, and that would just kind of irritate him to no end, you know. And, because he liked to be kind of perfect. He wasn't my closest friend. We played in a band together. Like I said, played in a band. And, you know, I remember him singing that song, The Pusher by Steppenwolf. And, you know, when you hear the lead singer, I can't remember his name. I should know his name, Jim Cale, or Jim Kay, John Kay. Anyway, when you hear him sing, he sounds very convincing, but when Brad sang it, you know, he just, you know, it just didn't sound convincing, you know. I mean, of course, he was like in high school, you know, probably 14 or 15 at the time, right? But he snuck his parents' car out one time in the middle of the night. No, that was somebody else. No, this was on a Sunday afternoon in the winter. There was me, Brad, Richard, and Dave. This other guy I'll get to in a minute, Dave. And it was on a Sunday. It was in the winter. There was a lot of snow around. His parents were away, but they had a second car, a beautiful Mustang. And he got the keys and he drove out the driveway, gave me and Richard a ride home, and Dave would not get in the car. He was too paranoid. I mean, he was only about 14 or 15 at the time. He was adopted. Yeah, he was adopted. No siblings. Only child. He became a dentist. He was kind of a studious person, you know, very kind of studious, nice guy, but like I said, had that air about him that always just kind of thought he's just a little bit more sophisticated than everybody else. But him and I went and saw, you know, some concerts together, and you know, had some good times. Last time I saw him was in Saskatoon, well, over 50 years ago. Now, Dave C., he was the guy that was with me and Richard. When Brad gave us a ride home, he would not get in the car. He was a really nice guy. I really liked Dave. He was a lot of fun. He had kind of a dry sense of humor. When he told a joke, it was kind of a deadpan type joke. He always had this curly hair. You know, he could have been Bob's. The first Bob I talked about, he could have been his brother because they both kind of looked the same and they both attracted the girls. He played basketball and was very good at basketball. He was very smart. Academically, he came from a family that always did well academically. There used to be a show called Reach for the Top. It's where high school kids go on. I think there'd be 4 from one school, from the other, from a different school. They compete against each other, you know, answering questions. Kind of like, you know, what's that Alex Trebek show, you know? Except they would ask the questions, not the answer first, however they do it, whatever. But coincidentally, Alex Trebek hosted that show, I think back in Ontario, I think years ago. Because it's one of those shows where every province had the same show, you know what I mean? And so our version that we had in Saskatoon, Dave's brother Rick was on there. The whole family was just, like I said, academically, they really knew their ABCs and everything else. But Dave, as smart as he was, he never showed off, or, you know, he was one of us, you know. He was a lot of fun to hang out with, you know, just an all-around good guy, you know, great sense of humor, funny, yeah, good guy to be around. Once again, last time I saw him would have been way back in the 70s, before I left Saskatoon. Now, my last friend from Saskatoon, I'm talking about Ken. When I started hanging out with Ken, it was almost like I stopped seeing all the other friends that I had that I just spoke of. When Rich and I started hanging out with Ken and his brother Gord, we went to a whole different level of hanging out, you know. When I hung out with all the other guys, it was like, you know, we would just get together and smoke cigarettes, maybe, you know, if we could find a doobie, smoke a doobie, and go see movies and just hang out and do stuff. If somebody had a driver's license, we'd drive around. And when I started hanging out with Ken, it was more, you know, really getting into, you know, smoking a lot of pot, listening to, I mean, I'd never listened to Deep Purple and Pink Floyd and stuff like that. Prior to hanging out with Ken, he introduced me to a lot of music. You know, I'd never heard of ZZ Top or Emerson, Lake and Palmer or any of those bands. They had all their stuff. His brother had a Lloyd stereo system, 8-track. Everything was 8-track back then. Terrible format for music. Or vinyl, which was better. But hanging out with Ken was a whole different ball of wax. You know, nice guy, dark complexion. He could have kind of passed for somebody from maybe, you know, Central South America, because his complexion was a little bit darker. Always had a long ponytail, you know, right down to his waist. Wore leather jackets all the time. He was very rebellious. He had a younger brother named Gord. I felt sorry for his parents because Ken was a real handful. He got in a lot of trouble. He got busted for drugs 4 times, twice in one weekend. Can you believe that? Got busted twice in one weekend, like seriously. He used to tell me, don't ever carry drugs, so you don't ever be in possession of them, and you'll never get busted. Let somebody else carry it. You know, if you're with a bunch of guys, and if you're not carrying anything, you can't be charged with possession. He should have taken his own advice. In high school, we had 5 classes per day, 3 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. He got to the point where he had 1 class, and that was the last one of the day. I'm surprised he even showed up for it. When we hung out together, when Richard was still there, it was okay because Richard and I were like a team. We're like a couple almost. We were kind of like we were joined at the hip. You know, it was always just me and Richard. When Richard moved to Windsor, Ontario, was hanging out with Ken by myself. And that's when he started getting into a lot of trouble. I'm surprised I didn't get into more trouble hanging out with him. Now, he had talked one night about going to this local school and busting into all the vending machines. And he was serious about doing stuff like that, right? I said, there's no way I wanted to do that. Rich was the same way. Like I said, once Richard left, I was on my own. And I liked hanging out with Ken, but he was a bad influence on me. Pretty bad influence. He used to, man, could he drink? Oh, wow. Unbelievable. And he was a tough guy. The last time he got busted for possession of hash, he thought he was going to jail, so he thought, well, if I'm going to jail, I'm not going lightly. So he started fighting with a cop. And he was winning until the second cop got involved. His parents had lost as to what to do with him. Now his dad was kind of a tough guy too, so he could kind of handle him. But he was very volatile and unpredictable. But at the same time, he could be a blast to hang out with, you know. He could be a lot of fun. I think he's what a lot of women would call a bad boy. You know, that's a lot of women are attracted to that. That was a part of him I didn't like. It just made me nervous sometimes, but like I said, we had so much fun together. And he introduced me to so much music, you know. I remember Dark Side of the Moon came out, you know, around that time. And just, it was a lot of fun hanging out with Ken. But, yeah. And then I moved away, and then the last time I saw him was after I had moved to Nanaimo on the island here, and my ex and I bought a house, and he came to visit. We didn't have kids yet, so it must have been around 84, I think. And then I saw him, yeah, he stayed for about a week or so, or a few days. And then he moved to Vancouver. And the woman, okay, when he came to visit me in 84, he had this woman with him. And then he went back to Saskatoon, they split, and he moved to Vancouver, and he got a Corvette, and he was driving around Vancouver, and he phoned me up and wanted to know if he could come visit, and I said sure, but then for some reason he never did. I can't remember what happened, but you know, after a while, you grow apart from some people because while you're raising kids, buying a house, raising kids, and working, they're still doing what they were doing when they were 15, you know. So I'm not sure what happened to Ken. Never could find him or his brother online or anywhere else. So I'm not sure what happened. Now, two guys that I met out here back in the 70s. Danny Vance. So Danny was a good guy. Still is. He lives in Calgary now, but Danny V. Met him when I was working in a logging camp. I used to drive this town called Port Alberni, and I'd catch a taxi cab and go 30 miles by logging road to the camp, and the company would pay for it. Actually, it cost me $1.75, and they'd pick up the rest of the tab. That was part of the contract. So I met him in Port Alberni one night at the taxi office while we were waiting for a cab. And we hit it off. I'd bit later than him, and I shared the exact same birthday. Same date and year and everything. We hung out in the logging camp all the time. Had a lot of fun. He was a very good guy. We had a lot of fun. Danny's one of these guys that would always do what it took to help you. He would always help you out. No matter what you're doing, he would always, you never had an excuse. He'd always come and help you out. Really good guy. So we kind of stayed in touch off and on. He quit working a logging camp before I did. But we reconnected after a while. We were both doing other things, living in town. And he got married. I got married, and they would visit. You know, him and his wife would come over, and they had how many kids did they have? Well, they had a son for sure. But I would visit them. We'd visit them. They were like another couple that we hung out with quite a bit. We used to hang out together as couples a lot. Pretty much all through the 80s. Then him and his partner's name was Linda, and they split. And he was quite devastated by that. Eventually, he moved away. Very friendly guy. Very likable. Funny. Very animated, you know. We had so many good laughs, so many good times. Yeah. He remarried us on Facebook. That he's, like I said, he moved away, lives in Calgary, he's remarried. But nice to see him and catch up sometime. Now my last one. Tim. I met Tim in the 70s. I did a video called Couch Surfing, where I was living with, 3 or 4 other guys, that sort of thing. And Tim was somebody that always come around. Tim was a real different guy. He's super friendly, super likable, witty and clever. But he never worked. He would later. But all through the 70s, I don't think he ever had a job. Really good guy. He used to help me with my delivery and moving business. You could call on him for anything. He was always a good friend. And I run into him occasionally. It's always the same place, either the grocery store or the credit union, the bank. And it's funny when I look at him, he's an old man now, like I am, And I can still picture what he was like when he was younger, and how I see him now. He's the same person, but just so much older. And it's funny because now he's worked now for about the last, 30 or 35 years. He's doing mostly drywall and stuff. But yeah, he was an usher at my wedding. Very good friend. Had a lot of good times together. Lived together, like a group of us. Drank and got high and hung out. there, all day, get there, drop the furniture off, come back the next day, stuff like that. Him and I looked to hide a bit up. 16 stories, 16 stories in a high-rise, because it wouldn't fit in the elevator. By about that much. He had a lady, a partner for a while. They had a son. And his mother was in the nursing home that I used to work at years ago, back in the 80s. Maybe into the early 90s. And I would talk to her all the time. And she was always knitting. Sitting up front in the lobby knitting away. And she was kind of rough around the edges, I think when she was younger, she was kind of, sort of rough around the edges. I think Tim came from a home where I don't think he knew who his father was. Probably kind of a sketchy, questionable background with a lot of drinking and partying and whatever, But there was a whole clan of those guys. He was cousins with some other people, and it kind of surprises me when I think now how many people I got to know when I was younger, and how many people I hung out with when I was younger. Because it's not like that now, right? I got my buddy John. I got a few other friends that I see occasionally, and Linda and I have couples that we see as couples, right? But that's kind of how it is, right? Good old M&M's. Like I said, I still see Tim around. He's the taxi driver for his family. That's what I do. His mom's passed away now, but I drive mom to appointments. He does the same thing with, some of his relatives or neighbors who can't get around. He's got a heart of gold. When I think about it, a lot of my friends back then were really, really good people. And these ones that I talked about were the closer ones. There's still some that I know from, like, lots of them, but I just didn't really hang out with them that much. And these were not my best friends, but probably more of an inner circle type thing, People I spent more time with. There's a lot of people I knew quite well, but only because we hung out as a group, and they were in that group, you know what I mean? It wasn't like a one-on-one thing. Good old M&M's. Oh, my friends. That pizza was good. But I'm gonna love you and leave you. So you look after yourselves, look after each other. Stay amazing out there in the big land of awesome. The land of awesome is getting bigger all the time. I think there's about 20,000 of you now. Now ones that were well over a year old. I've been meaning to get to those ones. I finally did. So, if you don't hear from me within a day or two, I always answer my comments. It just takes me a while. Sometimes I'm kind of busy. So you look after yourselves, look after each other. We'll see you next time. You want a shout out or birthday wish? Hit me up, okay? Okay. Bye now.